Hey, I'm Dr. Hansen, and I just wanted to tell you about my personal journey with my health, how I almost died, and how I feel like I'm really able to help so many people today. And kind of where I'm at this point. Growing up, health to me was always important. And even from a young age, I started. I was motivated to be active and to do things and to take care of myself. I was the kid who. Maybe this is because I had older brothers. Maybe this is because I was, always the little guy. But, by the time I was, I don't know, 11 years old, I would start to do like sets of push-ups in the bathroom before I take a shower. And, I always wanted to be in good shape and feel good and be healthy. And that led me into a lot of activities like sports and things. And, I played some football, did a lot of soccer, track and field sort of stuff, strength and conditioning. And while I was able to work hard and do very well in a lot of ways, the signs were always there that things weren't actually going as good as I thought with my health. It was kind of very much in a tug of war. So things would be great one day, but on a very regular basis, one day to the next, I'd end up sick. And that might have been a cold or a cough or a flu or something, but very regular to the point where maybe a few times a month I was coming down with something, sinus infection, allergies, asthma, that sort of stuff. And by the time I was a teenager, I had a drawer full of inhalers to use, regular medications that the doctors would put me on. I had been exposed to a high number of antibiotics and that sort of thing. And this was, again, a very regular occurrence. I would have a lot of allergies, not just allergies with my sinuses and that sort of thing, but skin allergies. And so, seemingly out of nowhere, I would break into hives from head to toe. My whole body would be covered with them. And just the most miserable thing, always itchy. I'd wake myself up at night just itching all over because it was just driving me crazy. And, they would give me all sorts of things and nothing would work. And finally, they'd have to give me corticosteroids, methylprednisone, which is very potent stuff, to try and clear it up. And it was miserable, and I would go through that. But as soon as it cleared up, I would think, thank God that that's over, and I can get back to normal now. And I would just try and leave it behind me and then get on with my life. And I'd go right back to doing all the same things. I'd stay very active, and my diet was a certain way, and not very good by any means. I always felt like I was the guy who, I didn't feel that way. I was the guy who could eat anything I wanted, and I'd stay very lean and always seemed to feel pretty good, except, when I didn't, except when I was sick. So obviously, my immune system was very depleted. Was having autoimmune responses. My body was not responding well to the environment. There was a laundry list of problems there that I wasn't really recognizing for what they were. And so, this continued on until, I graduated high school. And I went and I did a few semesters at college, and I realized that right then, at that point in my life, that I wanted to pause school for a bit, and, I just had it in my heart to serve. And so I went and I served a mission, and I went down to Mexico, and I lived there for about 26 months, just like the people. So most people have been to Mexico, usually for a vacation, on the beach in a condo, and it's gorgeous. But, I got to live just like the people, and this is in southern Mexico, so it's a very third world situation. And don't get me wrong, I loved it, and I really have a special place in my heart for those people. But you just really learn to love someone when you serve them, and, I did that full time. Now, it was a great experience to live just like the people did, to live in their villages, to eat their food, to speak their language. But it was also a situation that took the problem that I had before and really blew it up. So, as soon as I got there, I got sick. I got really sick. The good news is I was only sick once the entire time I was there. The bad news is it was the entire time I was there. Within about I'm not a big guy to begin with, but within about 3 weeks of arriving, I dropped almost 30 pounds. And I spent the entire time I was there severely malnourished and underweight. And the kind of back and forth that I had before going down there, where I would be sick and then feel better, now it was just going from being sick to being really sick and back and forth. I could count on one hand the number of days I was there where I even just felt okay. And that was a combination of things. It was the situation, the living conditions and whatnot, but it was also just the fact that, again, I was chronically deteriorating on the inside, and my body was breaking down. I had constant colds, coughs, flus, pneumonia, allergies. The hives were coming back. Constant fevers, never being able to sleep at night, but always being tired during the day, passing out on a whim, it would seem like. And of course, the response was the same. It was always medications. Down there, they like to use shots a lot more, so I always had sore spots on my arms, my backside, because I had been stuck so many times. In fact, I was just reading through some of my journals the other day, and I had gotten about 8 shots within like a 3 or 4 day period. It was just insane. And but I thought that was my only option, and it was always, I was frustrated because, I knew what I wanted to be doing with my life, but I was sick and tired of being at the whim of whatever sickness happened to come up, whatever, just kind of blew in the wind. And, I felt like my life and my purpose and my health were just out of control. That's really when everything came to a head. So this was now, man, this is Christmas Eve of 2003, and I'm in this tiny little village. It's just one little dirt road, and it's up on the side of a volcano. So everything down in that area, there's lots of mountains, except they're not really mountains, they're all volcanoes. And there's all these ravines up that far up the volcano, and so the village was just kind of one long road, and it couldn't go wide because of these ravines, and they had no phones, and it was a great place, but I wanted to call and wish my mom, Merry Christmas. Now, I was very sick, and I decided, despite that I was going to make a hike to this other village where there was a phone that I could use. And I wasn't feeling great, but, I was and probably still am pretty stubborn in that aspect. And, I was just, by sheer force of will, if necessary, I was going to get there. And, I was at least going to talk to my mom for a little bit. So, I made my way out, and I got to this village, and I remember sitting on this little wooden chair in this, tiny room on a dirt floor, and, just kind of the phone had been just kind of wired in directly from the line. And, I had a great conversation with my mom, and, I didn't let on that I wasn't doing very well at all. And, I wished her Merry Christmas, and I hung up that phone, and I kind of just exhaled. And I thought, man, I don't want to get up. And listen, this is coming from someone who, I was always the guy who could run and run and run and never get tired. I could train in the morning, train in the midday, train in the evening, and then get up the next day and do it all over again, and do it for fun on the weekends too. And here I was, being confronted with a reality of my situation. And that's kind of when things started to get spotty for me. I finally picked myself up and I headed out, and I decided, I got to get home. And it was, dark at that point. And I don't remember everything from there. A couple situations in particular, though. I remember once I was making my way through the bottom of this big, I call them ravines, crevices, canyons, whatever you want to call it, up there in the mountains. And I was crossing this little stream. It's just kind of a muddy, not a very, it didn't have a lot of water in it, but I kind of paused at the bottom of the stream, and I looked up at the ceiling, and I saw the most gorgeous night sky, full of stars, amazingly beautiful, and I was just in awe for a few moments. And then I looked down, and I looked down at this riverbed and this mud that I was standing in, and I thought to myself, I don't think I can take another step. And if you've ever been in a situation like that, especially if you don't feel like you should be in a situation like that, that is a hard reality to face. And so if you've felt like, you couldn't take another step, if you've ever been sick for a long time before, if you've ever been at your lowest on a regular basis, I get it. And I was there. And, again, things were very spotty. I remember a few other points kind of on the way home. When I finally did get home, I was shaking uncontrollably. I thought I was just cold, and so I crawl into bed. I get all the blankets I had. I get even my dirty clothes, and I pile them on top of me, and I just try and warm up, and I pass out. And I passed out for a week. I didn't get up to go to the bathroom, to shower, to eat. I should have died. And coming through a situation like that, obviously, I'm here today to tell the story, but that was a situation that brought a tremendous amount of clarity to my life. And I feel like I have been able to get to where I am specifically because of that turning point. I realized in the days and weeks after that, as I contemplated what I'd been through and what that meant for my life, I realized that my top priority at that point, I had to figure out what it really meant to be healthy. I had to understand where health really came from, what that really meant, and how I really needed to live my life, because obviously I hadn't been doing it right. And while I had been doing my best, I was obviously falling short. And as a young man, I couldn't imagine where that would lead me over the next 10, 20, 30 years. How would that affect my interaction with a family, with grandkids, with parents and my grandparents, the whole nine yards? How would that affect my ability to do the things that I enjoyed? And I knew that I had to turn things around, and I realized that, when you lose your health, you lose everything. My ability to serve, my ability to give, anything that I had in my heart was not going to happen unless I was healthy enough to do it. And so that's what I dedicated my life to when I got home. And my education from there on to this day, I just love to spend time every day learning about health, helping other people, and approaching health from the inside out the way it's supposed to be. So, what it really means to be healthy, that's also, I think, what really helps other people turn their lives around. I run into people every day with all sorts of problems. They come asking me for help from everything from aches and pains to chronic degenerative illness to things that every other doctor has told them there is no solution for, to situations where they've lost hope entirely, or they've been told that their only options are something drastic, drugs and shots and surgery, and they're not interested. And those people come to me, and while a natural, holistic, inside-out approach is exactly what they need to get better, the first thing that helps them turn it all around is understanding where health really comes from, what that really means, how to make decisions in their life, and understanding exactly what I learned afterwards that allowed me to get out of that situation of going back and forth with feeling okay and being sick, and to a point now where I'm healthy on a regular basis. I'm in better shape than I've ever been in my life. I feel fantastic. And I see on a daily basis that I just continue to get better and better, and am more and more empowered to, again, follow my heart and my passion in life. So that's my story. I wanted to share that with you. That's what got me where I am today. And look forward to talking with you, meeting you. Hopefully this has been of some benefit. Maybe you can relate a little bit too. Thank you.